What? A recluse in this middle of nowhere place? Well, that's just like you, the introvert who spent all his time gaming. I was debating whether to go to my high school reunion. On my way to the venue, I immediately regretted deciding to attend. Because I happened to run into my least favorite classmate from high school. But then, it happened. What the? My classmate stood there, staring blankly at one point. And at the end of his gaze, there was an incredibly beautiful woman standing. "Long time no see," the woman said, her cheeks slightly flushed as she peered into my face. "If you don't come, I'll keep waiting." How could I not go after receiving a message like that? Reluctantly, I put on one of the newer jackets from my closet. And then, well, the rest can be whatever. I put on my worn-out sneakers at the entrance and opened the door. A frank feeling escaped my lips. Oh man. I really don't want to go to a reunion. My name is Leslie, and I'm 25 years old. Today, I was going to head to my high school reunion. It's the first reunion since graduation. And the group chat organized by the host is full of upbeat messages like "I can't wait, I really want to see everyone, I'll definitely be there," with nearly everyone in the class planning to attend. And then there's me. I barely managed to send a "I'll be there" just before the RSVP deadline. Why? Because I really don't want to go to the reunion. I'm not feeling great. Maybe I should take some antacid before going. I didn't have any memories from high school that made me want to see my old classmates. What I remember is sitting quietly in the corner of the classroom. I wasn't particularly skilled at anything, nor did I stand out in any way, and on top of that, I was terrible at socializing. So inevitably, I spent a dark 3 years in high school. I was, you might say, an introvert. Who would even be happy to see me there? Does anyone even remember me? On my way to the nearest station, I couldn't stop thinking these negative thoughts. If it weren't for that message, I probably wouldn't have even replied to the group chat. I'm dragging my feet toward the venue, all because of Alicia. My childhood friend asked me, "I really want you to come to the reunion," so I had no choice. When she said she'd be waiting for me, I couldn't refuse to attend. But the first time I hear from Alicia in 3 years is about this reunion. What's up with her? Alicia, my childhood friend, has been with me since preschool. She had a chubby figure, pale skin from being indoors all the time, and always spoke in a low voice. Because of these traits, she was called some not-so-nice nicknames in class. Back then, she was my fellow introvert. And she was practically my only friend. Yeah, I should bring that if I'm going to see her. I turned on my heel and headed back toward the apartment I came from. Strangely, my steps felt lighter than they had been. However, just as I was about to cross the street to the hotel where the venue was. Well, if it isn't Leslie the introvert. Did you say you were coming? My face froze at that moment. Oh no. Of all the classmates to run into first, it had to be the one I least wanted to see. Maybe it really would have been better not to come to this reunion. Ignoring my regret, that guy walked over with a grin on his face. It's been ages. How have you been, champ? Hey, about that nickname. Never mind. He looked up at me, peering into my face, and I mumbled awkwardly as I looked down. I thought I had gained some courage after facing the harsh realities of the world. But the moment we made eye contact, all the confidence I had built up deflated like a balloon with a hole. Why do the power dynamics from school days have such a hold on people? You're still the same as ever. Unremarkable, kind of dorky, not very polished. You haven't changed a bit, champ. It's reassuring, really. The guy laughing and patting me on the shoulder. Kenneth, my former classmate, was always someone who lacked any sense of delicacy and spoke whatever was on his mind. Leslie? Ha, sounds like a girl's name. I still remember him laughing at me when we were first in the same class. He naturally thought it was okay to make introverts the butt of jokes. Honestly, he was just a jerk. But people like him, for some reason, excel academically and athletically, and on top of that, had good looks. And naturally, they were at the center of the class. We were on completely opposite ends of the class hierarchy, him at the top and me at the bottom. Kenneth, you. What? What about me? Are you about to say I'm still as handsome as ever? Well, I hate to admit it, but he was right. He looked even more ruggedly handsome than before. Maybe he's been playing sports, judging by his tan skin and muscular build. On top of that, he was wearing a suit that screamed expensive and a watch that seemed like a high-end brand. Hey, do you know about Blossom Advertising? I'm working as a sales rep there now, Kenneth said, draping his arm around my shoulder with a smug look on his face. Blossom Advertising is one of the top 5 advertising agencies in the industry. It makes sense that he seems to be doing well financially, considering he's likely making a lot of money. So, what about you? You used to always be playing games in class. You're not still gaming all day, are you? Wait, are you serious? Seeing my reaction, Kenneth's smile twitched for a moment. Then, in the next instant, he burst into laughter, clutching his stomach. Seriously? So you're a recluse or something, still living at your folks' place in this boonish town? No, that's not. Sure, the town we're from is a rural place that's far from lively. As I tried to refute him, Kenneth wouldn't let me get a word in. Come on, it's fine. Life has its ups and downs, right? We're only 25, we can always start fresh. Let's do our best. He nodded to himself, patting my shoulder as if to encourage me. All the while, Kenneth continued to ramble on with a smug grin. That's right. This was another thing I couldn't stand about him. I gazed off into the distance. At that moment, Kenneth suddenly muttered as if he had remembered something. By the way, I was surprised to see her on the guest list. Her? That's her. The one who was close to you, that pig with glasses, Alicia. What? At that moment, I felt like my head was about to explode. The emotions that surged up were so intense that I unconsciously grabbed Kenneth's shoulder. Hey! I don't care what he says about me. But to insult my childhood friend who isn't even here. I couldn't believe how angry I felt. But even though I had grabbed Kenneth's shoulder, he was looking in another direction and hadn't noticed me at all. What is that? He mumbled like he was in a trance and stood frozen in place. Wondering what it was, my anger subsiding a bit, followed his gaze. And then... What the? Across the crosswalk, standing against the backdrop of a building, was a woman. Her appearance held me captive just like it did Kenneth. Even from a distance, I could see her translucent, porcelain skin. Her glossy black hair, softly curled, gently framed her small face. Under her bangs were large, jewel-like eyes and a well-shaped, beautiful nose. Her light pink lips stood out strikingly against her white skin. From the cream-colored dress she wore, slender arms and legs extended gracefully. A doll? Don't be stupid. She's a real person, and incredibly beautiful. Kenneth, excited, shook my shoulder vigorously. Despite being shaken, I couldn't take my eyes off her. Off the stunning beauty who was impossibly close. I'm going over there. What? I'm gonna ask her out. And if things go well, I might just skip the reunion. No sooner had he said this than Kenneth dashed across the crosswalk. And then, I fell in love at first sight. Would you do me the honor of having dinner with me? As if proposing, he knelt on one knee and extended his hand to the beauty. Even such an exaggerated scene looked fitting between a handsome man and a beautiful woman. For someone like me, it could never. Leslie. Yeah. Hey, you're Leslie, right? That's right, wait, what? I was looking down, but the moment I raised my head, I felt like my eyes were going to pop out. Because the beautiful woman who was supposed to be across the intersection was now so close she could almost touch me. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Sorry, I'm late. What? The overwhelming beauty I'd seen from afar was right in front of me. A sweet, fresh scent, perhaps from her perfume or shampoo, wafted around her. Beautiful women really do smell nice. I thought absently, as if in a dream. Hey, are you mad? Because I was late for our meeting? I'm not mad. You probably just got lost or something. How did you know? Yeah, Alicia, you have always been, Alicia? At that moment, the sounds around me suddenly became clear. The beautiful woman smiled, her grin blooming like a flower. Long time no see, she said, twirling the ends of her hair with her long, slender fingers. That nervous habit of hers was, "Alicia, it's really you, isn't it? I didn't recognize you at first. Leslie, you've become really handsome. You're the one who's changed." Honestly, I was still in disbelief. She looked like a completely different person. The woman standing in front of me in the image of Alicia, my childhood friend, in my memory. Everyone used to call me a pig with glasses. She was always pale and chubby since childhood. On top of that, she wore thick glasses and was often teased at school. I remember how she often cried on our way home. Her timid and shy personality was probably part of the reason for it. She had a round face, chubby arms and legs, small eyes, and a flat nose. She had long hair she used to hide her face and wore baggy uniforms to cover her figure. That was the last timid I saw of Alicia at our high school graduation. Is it really you, Alicia? It's a little embarrassing to hear my name so much. In a daze, I stared at Alicia, who smiled shyly back at me. Just then, Kenneth hurriedly ran over, looking flustered. Hey, hey, hey! You know her, Leslie. No wonder Kenneth didn't realize she was Alicia. If he recognized her as the pig with glasses he used to mock, what kind of face would he make? A mischievous thought crossed my mind, and I decided to play dumb. Don't you remember? She was a classmate too. A classmate. So she's coming to the reunion today as well. Yeah, she said she's attending. You're kidding me. Kenneth clutched his head, twisting in agony. He was probably trying hard to recall her. But finally, he shouted, "I give up. I'm sorry, I can't remember. How could I forget such a beautiful woman? I'm such an idiot. But meeting you here must be fate. Would you accompany me to the venue?" Kenneth knelt once again, offering his hand to Alicia. But she silently walked past him. What? Kenneth froze in his dramatic pose, completely ignored by Alicia. Then she smiled brightly and suddenly grabbed my hand tightly. Leslie, hurry up. The reunion's starting. Alicia, wait. As the light turned green, Alicia pulled me along, and we dashed across the crosswalk. I could hear Kenneth's voice murmuring Alicia, behind us. Leslie. Here's some water. Your face has been red for a while, have you had too much to drink? Oh, yeah. Thanks. I took the glass Alicia offered and gulped down the water. But it was like trying to put out a fire with a glass of water. This was nowhere near enough to calm me down. Every time Alicia entered my line of sight, my heart started racing. Wow, Alicia, you've really become beautiful. Ha! My heart skipped a beat at a classmate's nearby comment. For a moment, I thought I had accidentally let my true feelings slip. Alicia really has become beautiful. This isn't just about losing weight and getting slim. It's like she's changed so much on the outside that her inner self seems different, too. The timid Alicia from back then was gone, and she walked with her back straight, like a top model on a fashion runway. The confidence radiating from her wasn't something you could achieve just by dressing up. It enveloped her entire being like a glow. She seems so distant now. Did you say something, Leslie? Are you feeling unwell? The way she tilted her head and her kindness toward others were the same as always. While I'm still stuck in my introverted days, Alicia has transformed into a completely different person, drawing all eyes in the venue. Even though we're standing next to each other, it feels like we're living in different worlds now. Sorry. I need to go to the restroom. What? Are you okay? I'll go with you. I just drank too much water. Pathetically, I ran away. I watched from the corner of my eye as classmates gathered around Alicia, whispering about her. Still, I couldn't bear it. I'm just a kid. In the hallway, I reached into my jacket pocket and held onto something cold and hard. It was the handheld game console I had brought from home. It was a memento of the times Alicia and I used to play together at my house. Wow, nostalgic. You still have it, Leslie. I imagined Alicia saying that with sparkling eyes behind her glasses. But the current Alicia didn't seem interested in games at all. No, it wasn't Alicia, it was me who couldn't show this to her. It felt like I was the only one still stuck in the past, and I wished I could just disappear. Did you see her? Alicia's amazing, right? I couldn't even recognize her. 2 girls passed by me, chatting about her. Isn't it because of her family's money? You know she is. A full-body plastic surgery. Lucky her, I wish I was born a CEO's daughter, too. The amount of money she must have spent is different, I bet. No way. It started to feel strange that Alicia and I were ever together. Even though our families were neighbors, I was just the second son of an average salaryman's family. Meanwhile, Alicia's father was the CEO of a long-standing food manufacturer. In other words, Alicia was a CEO's daughter. Her father was really strict. He hated video games. Would Alicia, their only daughter, eventually take over the company as CEO? If that happens, we'll definitely be living in separate worlds. Maybe that's why she invited me here today. Maybe Alicia sensed that we couldn't go back to being the way we were. Perhaps she wanted to use this opportunity to cut ties with me. If that's the case, I don't like it. I still want to be friends with Alicia. That was my honest wish. At least, it was at this point. As the reunion reached its final stages, conversations about the after-party began to arise everywhere. Alicia, are you coming? Let's go to the after-party together. Let's talk more. Alicia was still surrounded by classmates, and I didn't even have a chance to approach her. I wondered if Alicia planned to go to the after-party. I wanted to know, but I couldn't even see her expression to find out. Then, it happened. I'd like to talk with you alone. A short message appeared on my phone, just that was enough. Before I even checked who sent it, my heart skipped a beat. Because I had been thinking the exact same thing. I'm sorry, everyone. I'd love to, but I think I'll head home tonight. Smiling, Alicia slipped out of the crowd. Even such a casual moment felt like a scene from a movie. Without a doubt, Alicia was the star of this reunion. I couldn't help but wonder if it was okay for someone like me to be alone with Alicia. Despite the slight feeling of guilt, my heart kept racing. I was happy. Out of everyone, Alicia chose me. Then, it happened. Under the venue lights, Alicia's large eyes sparkled as she turned towards me by the window. Our eyes met. Leslie. Alicia called my name with a bright, genuinely joyful smile. My face flushed, as if all the blood in my body rushed to it at once. She's beautiful. For the first time, I felt something new towards the girl waving at me. I was so taken aback that I couldn't even wave back. Seeing my lack of response, Alicia tilted her head in puzzlement. Then suddenly, someone barged in. Alicia. How about dinner after this? It was Kenneth, who had been dazed in the corner of the room, finally regaining his senses. I'm sorry. I have plans after this. Just 30 minutes, no, even 15 minutes. Please, give me a chance. A chance? Yes. Listen, Alicia, Kenneth launched into a passionate self-promotion. He graduated from a prestigious private college in New York and currently works for a well-known advertising company. He earns more than anyone else at this reunion and plans to buy a penthouse in New York someday. His suit and watch today were expensive brand-name items. In other words, he considered himself a man worthy of an extraordinary beauty. We've reunited, so let's put the past behind us. I was just a kid back then, you know, part of the fun. But you've really become beautiful, Alicia. You're like a different person. Did you lose weight because you were upset about being teased? If so, maybe I deserve some credit for it. I was shocked you chose Leslie, an introverted shut-in gamer with no talents and no money. But hey, I'm generous. Of course. I'll forgive you if you'll have dinner with me. With a smug expression, Kenneth extended a hand to Alicia, confident he had sealed the deal. Then, Alicia, who had remained silent, suddenly spoke up. She had a puzzled expression on her face. Who are you? What? Kenneth froze at Alicia's response, stunned. The classmates around them, who had been watching the two, all let out a wow and burst into laughter. Then Kenneth's face turned red with anger, and he snapped back defiantly. It's me, Kenneth. Kenneth. We were in the same class for 3 years, and I was class president in our second year. Kenneth, oh, that Kenneth? That's right. Kenneth, angry that he had been forgotten, finally looked relieved when Alicia remembered him. However, In the next instant, he was frozen again by Alicia's words. Kenneth, who confessed to every girl in school and got in trouble with the teachers. What? Although Kenneth had been a popular class president. The reason he'd been left alone in the corner of the room tonight was because of these incidents. His reputation for womanizing and his shallow personality were infamous throughout the school even back then. 7 years after graduation, their classmates, now mature, were once again reminded of his bad behavior. No one wanted to get involved with him, so everyone kept their distance. That's right, it was terrible. He didn't care if someone had a boyfriend. And once he got bored, he'd drop them immediately. There must be a few victims among us here. The ones chuckling were those who weren't targets of Kenneth back in the day. In other words, the girls Kenneth used to mock for their appearance. Laughter spread from them, and someone even shouted, "Is he still up to it?" and the whole venue erupted in laughter. Amidst it all, Alicia was the only one who, for some reason, raised her voice in anger. Hold on. Kenneth, you're wrong. Leslie isn't a shut-in. What? Also, take back what you said about him having no talents. Leslie is an amazing person who has been recognized by many. With that, Alicia mentioned a game. It was a mobile phone RPG game that had become a massive hit both domestically and internationally. The fact that it was developed by a current college student became a huge topic at the time. Of course, I know it. I got really into it myself. I still play it. The person who created that game, Leslie, is Leslie right there. What? Not only Kenneth but all the other classmates wore looks of surprise. Leslie had never shown their face, and their gender was unknown, with only the fact that they were 25 years old this year being known to the public. After all, I hadn't even told my parents that I was working in game development until last year. Incidentally, I live in a condo in New York, and today I took the train from the morning to return to my hometown. I didn't have many fond memories of high school, and if Alicia hadn't invited me, I probably wouldn't have attended the reunion. No way. I mean, if it's true, I just assumed they were a woman. Kenneth's voice trailed off in disbelief as the murmurs in the venue grew louder. And suddenly, my classmates surged towards me. That's amazing, Leslie. I play that game too. You were always into games. Can I get your autograph? Classmates who hadn't even noticed my presence earlier were now crowding around me, praising me, and trying to talk to me. I was bewildered by the attention, feeling both awkward and embarrassed. My body automatically backed away to the wall to distance myself from them. Haha. Sorry, I have plans after this. At that moment, someone grabbed my hand from behind. Startled, I turned around to see Alicia standing there. Let's run, Leslie. What? With that, Alicia suddenly pulled me, and we started running. We dashed out of the venue, sped down the hallway, and quickly exited the hotel. Then, we finally stopped after crossing the crosswalk where we had reunited that evening. I felt like I was the lead in a movie. But I didn't have the time to think about that. Being out of shape from my work, such sudden exercise was too much for my body. Phew. Why aren't you out of breath at all, Alicia? Maybe because I've been going to the gym. I also heard swimming, jogging, and hiking are good exercises for weight loss. Oh. Alicia smiled at me, unable to speak, saying, "You really are amazing, Leslie." Lately, I've been too busy to play games, but I've heard about Leslie's activities. Every time a game I worked on became popular, I felt as happy as if it were my own. If anyone's amazing, it's you. Alicia is much more impressive than I am. Earlier, I was just surprised at how incredibly beautiful Alicia had become. To have changed so dramatically, she must have put in an immeasurable amount of effort into dieting and beauty. Now that I realized it, I understood why she was so dazzlingly beautiful. And my heart was pounding so hard it felt like it was going to explode. You've become beautiful. Ha! I've wanted to tell you for a while, but I couldn't bring myself to say it, sorry. Leslie. Back in the day, I would have been able to compliment her more honestly. But facing the current Alicia, that was all I could manage to say. Her white skin turned a pale red, and she looked down shyly. She was incredibly cute. When she stood up for me against Kenneth, she had such a dignified and cool aura, and she was really beautiful. In my head, I could come up with endless words. So, just wondering, but do you have anyone you're dating right now? Even after asking, I didn't know why I did. But I felt like I had to ask. Even though I knew I'd probably regret asking. I'm getting married. What? I'm planning to have the wedding next year. Right now, we're in the middle of preparing. After graduating from junior college, Alicia worked as a secretary for her father while studying to be the next CEO. She met her fiancé through that connection. Alicia smiled, but there was a hint of sadness in her expression for a bride-to-be. I'm glad I got to see you, Leslie. I really wanted to tell you this in person today. Oh, right. Marriage. Of course. Someone as beautiful as her would be sought after by men. Maybe she became more beautiful because she was loved by her fiancé. I'm glad she's found happiness. I had to keep telling myself that. I was surprisingly shaken, even to myself. Congratulations, Alicia. I finally managed to say the words I needed to say the most. Alicia gave me a small smile and said thank you, then turned her back to me. Well then, take care, Leslie. Saying that, Alicia raised her hand to hail a taxi. Seeing this, I found my body moving on its own. Alicia. Suddenly grabbed by the hand, Alicia's eyes widened in surprise. I was also shocked by my own actions, but somehow managed to force out some words. How about we go to the amusement arcade? The one in front of the station. I had a lot of fun. I used to come here with you a lot, Leslie. Sneaking in so my dad wouldn't find out. Remember? After we spent some time playing games together at the amusement arcade. Alicia, her expression much brighter than when we arrived, turned to me walking behind her. Thank you, Leslie. You were trying to cheer me up, weren't you? Is this what they call pre-wedding jitters? I've actually been a bit anxious since the wedding was decided. The wedding announcement was mostly an excuse. The real reason was that she wanted to see me. Alicia suddenly smiled, making my heart skip a beat again. Games are really fun, aren't they? Even though we're adults, it's kind of embarrassing, but it made me want to play like we used to. You're really gonna say that to me, a grown adult who's making games right now and loves them? Oh, sorry. That's not what I meant. I get it. It's your dad, right? Yeah. Alicia's father was an old-fashioned man and was strict about his daughter's upbringing. He particularly disliked games, calling them the cause of stupidity and bad behavior, and he never allowed them for Alicia. So, there wasn't a single game-related item in Alicia's house. Alicia could only play games when she came to my house under the pretense of studying or when we went to the amusement arcade together after school. Even as a child, she couldn't freely do what she wanted. Much less as an adult, she couldn't even sneak in a little time to relax and was always busy with work. I wondered if such a routine was the reason Alicia's expression was clouded. I'll lend it to you. Next time. A game. You want to play, right? In truth, I already had it in my pocket. But the words next time slipped out because I wanted an excuse to see Alicia again. Even if your dad finds out and takes it away, I'll lend it to you again. I've got enough to sell anyway. Leslie. This was a kind of gamble. If Alicia said, I don't need it, I would back off gracefully. I'd sincerely congratulate her on her marriage. And I'd try not to think about seeing her again. Thank you, Leslie. Next time for sure. When Alicia gave me her biggest smile of the day. I didn't even care that I had won the bet. The prospect of seeing Alicia again filled me with such happiness that I couldn't hide it anymore. I was so thrilled that I couldn't focus on my work until the end of the month when we'd meet again. I thought about Alicia all the time. But it wasn't because I had started seeing her as a woman. After all, Alicia was getting married soon. Then on the promised day. Leslie. A beautiful woman, who could turn heads, ran towards me at the meeting place, waving and smiling. I tried to keep my composure, but inside I was almost in a panic. Even in a casual shirt and jeans, how could she be as cute as she was at the reunion? Being laughed at like that, I could almost forget I'm getting married. Sorry to keep you waiting. I made it here without getting lost today. Oh, that's great. Her proud face was so cute that I couldn't look at it directly. I turned my face away and handed her the bag with the game console and cartridges. Here. I picked a console that's easy to hide and some games that you can play quickly in your free time. Wow, thank you. Alicia peeked inside the bag, her face lighting up. Then, the next moment, she said something I hadn't expected. Hey, are you free after this? I'd like to have some tea and chat with you, Leslie. Ha? That might not be a good idea. Not because my feelings might waver, but because being alone with her so close to her wedding, what if someone we know saw us? No, that's okay. It wouldn't be right for your fiancé. It's fine. Anyway. Alicia? No. It's nothing. It's fine. She insisted that I shouldn't worry about it. Alicia half forcefully took me to a nearby cafe. We barely touched our tea before she started bombarding me with questions. How are your parents? Do you ever go back home to visit them? Only around New Year's and the summer holidays, I guess. They're both doing well. What do you talk about when you visit? Like, what your life in New York is like, and stuff? Yeah, pretty much. They ask if I'm eating well and stuff. Also, if there's someone special in my life yet. Someone special, you mean, like a girlfriend? Huh? Yeah, I mean, I don't have anyone, though. But since my brother got married, they seem to expect I'll be next. You don't have anyone? No. What's with you, asking all these questions? When I raised my voice a bit, Alicia snapped back to reality and said, I'm sorry, slumping her shoulders. An awkward silence fell between us. I quickly tried to change the mood by pointing at myself. Look. I wasn't popular at all in middle or high school, right? Even now, nothing's changed, as you can see. Huh? But you're so handsome, Leslie. You said the same thing at the reunion, you know. Whether it's her naive personality or because of her upbringing as a rich girl, Alicia has always had a slightly different perspective. She still sees me, a completely average guy, as handsome. In what way? If I were really handsome, at least one or two women would have confessed to me. But I've never been told. I couldn't finish my sentence. Alicia was staring at me with wide, surprised eyes. Alicia. Never, then, the reason you didn't reply. Huh? In our senior year, I confessed my feelings to you, Leslie. But you never gave me an answer. Was it because you didn't realize it was a confession? What? This time, I was the one staring wide-eyed in shock. Alicia had confessed to me? I couldn't believe it, but Alicia wasn't the type to lie. And her face didn't look like she was lying at all. On Valentine's Day, I gave you handmade chocolates and said, this is how I feel about you. Oh. So that wasn't just out of obligation? I totally thought it was one of those friendship chocolates. As an excuse, Alicia's chocolates were of such high quality that I thought they were store-bought. And because her voice was so quiet, I had a feeling she said something, but I couldn't make out what it was. So I never even dreamed that she had confessed her feelings to me. Still, I was happy to receive them, even as obligatory chocolates. You were the only one who didn't make fun of me for being an introvert and stayed by my side. Looking back on it, I spent every free moment thinking about Alicia back then. I wondered what game we should play together next. I worried that she might hear something nasty said about her behind her back. I thought about what I could say to make Alicia smile tomorrow. Maybe those feelings were actually love? Maybe you were my first love, Alicia. Just kidding. I only meant it as a light-hearted joke. A joke I could laugh off because it would never come true. Alicia. That was until tears began streaming down from her wide-open eyes. I'm sorry. It just came over me all of a sudden. No, I should be the one apologizing. I said something weird out of nowhere. That's not it. Shaking her head repeatedly, Alicia continued to cry. She kept repeating I'm sorry and that's not it over and over again. I waited until Alicia's tears stopped. Not because I knew how to comfort a woman but because waiting was all I could do. Then, as the sun began to set. Let's go home, Alicia. I extended my hand to Alicia like I used to when we were kids. Having finally stopped crying, Alicia gave a small nod. Hesitantly, she placed her pale, delicate hand on mine. Okay, Leslie. In that moment, I finally admitted my feelings. I was in love with Alicia. I love you. Alicia, I really do. Even though I knew it would only cause trouble for her. I just had to let her know how I felt. On our way home, I confessed to Alicia, who was walking beside me. What? I love you. Even now, much more than I did back then. Is that because of how I look now? Well, honestly, that is part of it. But, I was joking. You're as serious as ever, Leslie. Finally, she smiled faintly. Standing in front of me, Alicia firmly said, I'm sorry. She said she was getting married, so she couldn't return my feelings. I know, as long as you're happy. That's all I want. Hey, Leslie. How about a bet? A bet? Surprised by her sudden proposal, I asked her what she meant. Alicia nodded, saying yes, and took out the game console I had given her earlier from her bag. With this, let's each play one game, and the one with the higher score wins. How about it? But what exactly are we betting? That is. Alicia smiled brightly and said. We were betting on her marriage. 15,000 points to 2,500 points. I lost so badly. The result of the match was a landslide victory for me. Despite her total defeat, Alicia looked strangely refreshed. And suddenly, she said something unbelievable. I lost, so I have to keep my promise. I won't get married. Huh, what? Because I bet my marriage on this. I quit. Wait, Alicia, I've never been married, but you can't just call off a wedding like that. I know, I just wanted to say it. Alicia smiled with the same slightly sad expression she had when she told me, I'm getting married. And the reason was, even though it was a marriage, hers was an arranged marriage. An arranged marriage. You'd think in this day and age? But it's a great deal. Just by marrying me, they'll lend us a large amount of money. Just by. Alicia's fiancé was the heir of a large company they did business with. He was 35, 10 years older than Alicia, and she wasn't fond of him. Looking down, Alicia muttered quietly. I've met him a few times, but he never smiles. Even when we're alone, he doesn't talk, and if I try to speak to him, he ignores me. It's like he's not interested in me at all. I don't want to get married. But, Leslie, please don't tell my dad. She lifted her head and smiled at me. Tears welled up in her eyes, and her lips quivered. If that's the case, if she feels that way, she should dump that guy and choose me instead. The words almost escaped my throat. Even someone like me, who's out of touch with Alicia's world, understands the meaning of an arranged marriage. How many people are involved in their marriage and how much it will affect the future? No. I looked up but couldn't say anything, then lowered my head again. Seeing me like this, Alicia giggled. It's okay, Leslie. Thank you. You were trying to cheer me up, right? Saying you love me, even though it was a lie. Alicia wiped away the tears from the corner of her eyes with her fingers, laughing. And then she said that she knew I already had a fiancé. What, fiancé? I actually saw you walking with a really beautiful woman, Leslie. It was about 3 years ago. When she went on a business trip to New York, she happened to see me. She was going to call out to me, but she overheard our conversation and couldn't help but run away. Alicia spoke with nostalgia. I look forward to our future together. I thought you were proposing, Leslie. That's when I realized my first love was over. It was sad. But I was finally able to move forward. Just wait a second. That's not true, Alicia. Alicia tilted her head in confusion, and I explained the truth to her. That was someone from the company. She came to scout me. That was during my senior year of college. I had already developed a hit game and was directly scouted by a major gaming company with an offer. Would you like to work for us? The woman Alicia saw was Catherine, the company's hiring manager. At the time, I had just agreed to the job offer. So Catherine was not my fiancée or anything like that. When I said, I look forward to working with you as a colleague, that's what I meant. No way, so, really. With her voice trembling, Alicia asked again. This time, I looked straight at her as I replied. I love you. Of course, the current you is beautiful, and if I let my guard down, I find myself staring. But it's not just that. Throughout the reunion, you were always concerned about me. You stood up to Kenneth, whom I struggled with in high school, for my sake. I love that kindness of yours that hasn't changed since back then. Even if you still looked the same as before, I'm sure I could have said this proudly. I love you, Alicia. You shouldn't have to get married if you don't want to, marry me instead. I thought that you liked women like her, Leslie. Even though I was heartbroken, I couldn't give up. I was overweight from a young age, and I thought I could never lose weight. But when I made up my mind and started dieting, the pounds started to drop quickly. Once I became slim, I wanted to try my best with beauty and makeup, which I hadn't cared about before. That's why I thought I was able to change because of that heartbreak. Alicia wiped her overflowing tears, smiling that gentle smile I loved from before. It's because of your own hard work that you've changed, Alicia. Not only that, but thank you anyway. For giving me the push I needed. Despite usually being reserved, her determination to work hard. And though she's shy, she can express her gratitude honestly. That's all the Alicia I love. So, what about you, Alicia? I love you too, Leslie. I always have, your kindness, how good you are at games, and how you never treated me differently. Treated you differently? Yeah. Everyone around me only saw me as the CEO's daughter. My father always said, you shouldn't play games, and forced me to take lessons like piano and horseback riding to be a proper lady. The kids my age either mocked me for my looks or kept their distance because we lived in different worlds. But you were different. When you asked me to play games with you, you don't know how happy that made me. Even though I was new to it, you never went easy on me. I never won. But I didn't feel bad at all. It was proof that you didn't treat me differently. It was probably just because I was a kid at the time. But Alicia, the woman I love most in the world, is smiling so happily. So maybe it's okay to keep the truth a secret for a while longer. Thinking this to myself, I smiled back at Alicia. However, just because we confirmed our feelings for each other doesn't mean we're at a happy ending. Alicia and I later went to face the final boss. Which means, the one who planned Alicia's arranged marriage, her father. It's been a while. Leslie, is it? Are you the one who says he wants to date Alicia with marriage in mind? As soon as we met at her parents' home, her father glared at me with sharp eyes. It was only natural. If Alicia's marriage was called off, the company wouldn't receive the loan. And the one interfering with the marriage proposal was a guy who developed games, which he hated. Of course, he wouldn't like me, and I didn't expect to be liked from the start. If he opposed us, I was prepared to persuade him until he agreed. Please. I'm serious about loving Alicia. Could you please allow us to date? Do you understand what that means? Yes. A cold chill ran down my spine, and I wanted to look away. Even though it wasn't cold, my hands began to shake uncontrollably. At that moment, Alicia, sitting next to me, suddenly took my hand. The warmth stopped my hands from trembling. Yes, as long as I can be with Alicia, I don't need anything else. I could even give up my beloved games. I'll quit my job. What? I'll work for your company, even without pay, to make up for the loan. For a lifetime, if I have to, so please allow me to date Alicia. Please, Dad. The two of us bowed our heads deeply. Even if he didn't say anything, I wasn't scared at all. Because Alicia was by my side. That's enough. Both of you, stop. Eventually, as if giving up, a calm voice reached us. When we raised our heads, Alicia and I simultaneously said, our faces showing surprise. The stern and displeased look of the man before us had turned into a faint smile. It was fun. Ha! The game you developed, Leslie. Alicia recommended it to me. And although I thought it was silly and ignored it, I finally gave it a try the other day. No way. Dad, you played a game. Yes, I never knew a game could be so enjoyable. He apologized for being opposed to it without knowing. Then he turned to Alicia and bowed his head. When he raised his head again, he looked directly at me. If you're truly determined, don't worry about the loan. You don't need to quit your job. Someone who can create something so enjoyable should continue to showcase their talents in the right place. And there's nothing more expensive than something free is a business truism. Saying this, he laughed warmly, a gentle expression that resembled Alicia's smile. So, Alicia, since you were a child, you were obedient and always listened to your parents, and I took advantage of that. I forgot that you're a smart girl who can make her own decisions. I mistakenly thought I could control you as I pleased. Ha! To think that there's someone you truly want to marry, it's the first time I've heard you express wanting something for yourself. And to hear you dislike what was given to you, you must have really hated it. I'm sorry for forcing you into marriage for my own convenience. If he's the one you've chosen, I'm sure he'll make you happy. Be happy together. Seeing her father smile gently, a tear rolled down Alicia's cheek. Dad! Father and daughter embraced tightly, and the long-standing tension between them seemed to completely dissolve. Leslie! Alicia has become very beautiful, hasn't she? Ah, yes. Very. If she grows old and is no longer beautiful, can you swear to me that you'll still cherish her just the same? Of course. Okay. Seeing her father nod with satisfaction at my response, Alicia wiped her tears and smiled, saying, "Thank you, Dad." Then we looked at each other and reaffirmed our feelings for one another. We had overcome our biggest hurdle together. Now, with the person in front of me, I felt we could overcome anything that came our way. Later on, after dating for about a year, Alicia and I got married. Since I could work remotely, I made arrangements with my company to return to my hometown. Of course, it was so I could live with Alicia. The dishes are done, and I finished the laundry too, Alicia. Thanks, Leslie. I've got breakfast ready for tomorrow morning, but should we do it tonight too? Of course. I'd love to do it as much as I want if it's with you, Alicia. Oh, come on. Alicia smiled with feigned exasperation, but still nodded and said, okay. Then she handed me one of the 2 game consoles. Perfect. I was just about to suggest it. I'm not losing today. Bring it on. I won't lose today either. We both work hard during the day, and at night we split the chores. After that, we play games together. It might be a little different from a typical newlywed life. But this is our version of happiness. Again today, my beloved smiles and says, "This is fun." Seeing that makes me happy too, and I smile back. If these days continue unchanged, no matter what else might change, I can proudly say that I'm happy.